Hey guys, Resistance Chicks, January 8th, 2017. What have we got today, Leah?
We got some sad news today. So I guess some Israeli soldiers were hanging out and they were rammed by a truck.
Oh my gosh.
And it's on video. And I watched it, and he rolls over them and then he backs up. And the interesting part of the story is that recently there was an Israeli soldier who was charged with manslaughter for killing a wounded Palestinian, I believe, terrorist. And he was charged with manslaughter. So one of the gunmen who actually shot him said that he would have been shot sooner had it not been the fear of being charged with manslaughter. So,
wow.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that myself, actually. Raise your hand if you've ever thought, if somebody breaks into my house, I'm afraid to shoot them because somehow I might go to jail. Right? We all think that.
As far as we know, he sped up and he hit them, said
Wow.
the Jerusalem District Police.
And it killed them.
4 of them, and...
there was more than 4?
Yeah, well, turn away. I'm going to play this footage. I think that we kind of need to know what happens.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh, that's wow.
And you see everybody kind of going crazy there for a second, and then the truck is backing up and then at this point he's
this is me not watching.
Gonna be shot by an Israeli soldier. One of our friends was an Israeli soldier, and Aaron, and he says that this was one of these days that the soldiers looked forward to. They were plowed over. So our hearts and prayers go out to the 4 that are definitely killed.
And all the ones that are in the hospital now with goodness knows what kind of injuries.
It says, we know, Benjamin Netanyahu says, we know the identity of the attacker. All signs point to the attacker being a supporter of the Islamic State. This kind of goes into the update of the shooter in Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
The question is, why would somebody do this? It seems like a single person
Insanity.
just gone crazy. But they're not insane.
Well,
they have been brainwashed.
Exactly. Which is still a form of
crazy.
They
didn't come up with this on their own.
Right.
I think that insanity and crazy is molecular in your mind. It is a disease. This is a story. ISIS shows preschooler killing a victim tied to a carnival ball pit. Now,
what?
This is from January 6, 2017.
That was 2 days ago.
After an end-of-the-year video showing preteens hunt down and kill bound prisoners in an abandoned building, like when we went and did that shooting thing in that building, except for they were shooting preteens, shooting real men and dummies.
Wow. Okay, so we did this zombie thing. It used to be, it was airsoft type thing. You could take in your own weapon or whatever, and they would put the airsoft bullets in there, and then you would go in and you would have different targets, and they would pop up, and some were civilians and some were bad guys, whether they were zombies or whatever, and you had to shoot the bad guys, and we did really good at that.
So in the 18-minute highly produced video out of ISIS's Kar province in Syria, it was distributed through publicly accessible Islamic State media channels, social media, and file sharing sites, including Google Drive, and briefly on YouTube.
I like how there's sometimes we post videos that we're not allowed to have up because it's too sensitive.
It begins by showing adults training in a bombed-out building, but transitions into adults leading small children in exercises. A boy about 9 or 10 years old is shown gleefully participating in a public stoning. Like the previous ISIS videos featuring children, the video argues that coalition bombing is a reason for kids to join jihad and kill Americans.
Wow.
As in previous execution videos, a trio of prisoners accused of being spies make videotaped, quote, confessions. The film then cuts to an abandoned fun fair filled with ruined carnival rides, such as a Ferris wheel and a kiddie train. And this is I'm not gonna, there's not going to be any videos. There's a picture though. The first victim is zip tied to the interior of a tilting spinning disc ride. A boy about 7 years old ascends the stairs and is handed a knife by a black-clad ISIS member. He covers the victim's eyes with one hand before given a signal by the adult jihadist. The boy then saws the victim's throat. When done, he wipes off both sides of the knife on the victim's white t-shirt. The ride is then, this is disgusting, slowly spun with the victim's head sitting on the floor of the interior.
And you don't even need to read this next one. I even step to the side. This picture is enough without even having to read what's next. And here's the thing. This, to me, is a form of, I don't even know, it kind of reminds me of child molestation. Is what I'm trying to get at. Like, people, adults, getting off on watching a child kill another human being. And I think a lot of you probably wonder, Leah and Michelle, why are you covering this stuff? Because the mainstream media isn't covering it, and you don't know it's happening. Because I'm not sure about you, and I don't even know what we can do other than this is what we're doing. I don't know what else to do. But there's people that are bigger than me that can do stuff about this, and it's not happening.
Assad in Syria is not a good guy.
Right.
But these are the people that he's fighting. So you've got these people stuck in the middle, which are your Syrian refugees.
Right.
But you don't know who's coming through as a refugee. Most of them are young males who might have been brainwashed with this kind of training.
Right, and that doesn't necessarily make them bad people. It just makes them dangerous people. Okay, because if you're brainwashed into doing something, I believe that there's a huge level of grace there. But if you're brainwashed, you have to be kept away from regular society.
I don't want to go totally into this is the end of the year video when I talked about training. It reminds me of some sort of like Hunger Games training. We all glorify children in movies being trained to do military things.
Right.
So December 29, 2016, here's pictures you can see behind me of young preteens being trained, going through buildings. This is not a movie. This is not make-believe. They are literally going through killing men. Some of them were crying. And then it goes on. There's another article that links to this, to them, some young men speaking in French, saying, you know, America, the West, we're coming after you, things like that. And then it was translated into English. So there's a lot of layers and dynamics when it comes to Aleppo and Syria. And this the child jihad going on. And when we see these lone wolves, they are not lone wolves. They're trained somewhere. Now, when I go back to the Fort Lauderdale, I think I'm going to go into the Fort Lauderdale update because it continues on.
Right.
But I think I'll break it up. So here we are at a Fort Lauderdale update on the gunman. I think that this is really important for us to. He was a soldier, and he was in the Alaskan National Guardsman, and he showed up unannounced at the Anchorage, Alaskan offices in the FBI.
Because everybody just randomly shows up at the FBI.
According to the FBI, Santiago told federal authorities that U.S. intelligence agencies had gained control of his mind and were urging him to fight for the Islamic State terrorist group, ISIS. While the report was initially alarming, it was soon clear that the young man's reported complaint, it was soon clear to them that it was more of a cry of a medical treatment than a matter meriting the attention of counter-terrorism officials. I'm being brainwashed to watch ISIS movies and become an Islamic terrorist, but really I'm just having a mental condition.
But even if he was just having a mental condition, you keep him away from being able to do this stuff. You take it seriously. Now, I don't think it was just a mental condition. Okay,
We've
just
heard
saying.
these stories over and over again of people being preconditioned by the government, and this is where resistance chicks comes through. I would believe this guy that the government was conditioning him.
And not the entire government. Okay,
Right.
there's
some sort of. Have we all not seen Jason Bourne? Have we not seen it? Where there's one guy trying to turn. There's one guy who picks out one guy. Have we not seen The Recruit?
Right.
With Colin Farrell.
Right.
Okay? They're telling us what they're doing through these movies.
Absolutely.
And then we're just like, oh, duh. Oh, it can't be real. It's just fake. It's just Hollywood.
Right.
Where do you think they come up with the ideas from? They're telling us what's happening.
Before it happens. And they really are actually conditioning us, because it's like the boy that cries wolf.
Exactly.
Because if we see it in the movie, then we are actually being brainwashed that this is a fake reality, that this actually doesn't happen in the real world, and that's why they keep putting it out there.
But we're being brainwashed to even think that it's okay, though.
Exactly. It's desensitization.
So when we do hear that it happens, oh, it happens.
Right.
Oh, it happens. You know what I mean?
But you need to understand that there are wolves in the government. Many, many, many. But like there's some that are really, really bad, and they do have the authority to take Obama. It's probably his branch of the government that he's got behind closed doors that made this happen.
FBI is covering their little tushies.
Of course they
said
are.
in a statement Friday night, although Santiago stated that he did not wish to harm anyone. As a result of his erratic behavior, interviewing agents contacted local authorities who took custody of Santiago and transported him to a local medical facility for evaluation. The FBI closed its assessment of Santiago after conducting database reviews, interagency checks, and interviews with his family members, except for when you read the interviews of his family members, they said he went crazy. He went to cuckoo. Okay, it says that his brother said when he came back from Iraq that he was crazy and that the FBI is responsible for these shootings.
Wow.
His aunt said he was crazy, and he's crazy, and that's when he went to, actually, I think he was discharged from the army for some erratic behavior, and his family and his uncle, everybody said, one of his brothers said, you just go to church and maybe it will help you.
Which is normally a good idea.
It says that after he was evaluated for 4 days, Santiago was released without any medication or a follow-up plan.
Wow.
His brother says, I told him to go to church or seek professional help. Anchorage Police Chief Chris Tolley told a Saturday news conference that Santiago was a troubled soul who was investigated 4 times last year by local cops. Allegations range from domestic disturbance to an unverified strangling charge, and he was only arrested once. Anchorage cops also held Santiago's weapon for safekeeping after his bizarre November 7th appearance at the FBI, only to have the gun returned on December 8th.
Oh, look at that. They gave it back.
While in Iraq, his brother said he lost 2 of his close friends, said an uncle who lives in Naples, Florida. A grenade went off, and they died right in front of him. So that would cause somebody just to go crazy and become an Islamic terrorist and just start shooting people up. Something else is we have to dig. We have to dig, y'all, because you're not going to hear it. Okay, these are some mainstream news sources. I quoted USA Today, so there's got to be something even deeper.
Oh, absolutely.
What's going on behind this? So this is the update on the Fort Lauderdale shooting. Seriously, he went crazy, and I'm going to put these two. Today there was the running over of the Jewish soldiers by a lone wolf. This was a shooting in Fort Lauderdale by a lone wolf. But when you looked at the child jihad training, you realize that they're not lone wolves.
Right.
There's no such thing as a lone wolf. They're learning it somewhere.
Exactly.
And somebody said, and I read, that there was a mosque close to where he lived. And then I read somebody else, I didn't even know there wasn't mosques in Alaska, but close to this guy. So, anyways, that's that story, and if you're just joining us, I would like to talk about...
Did we stop it?
Yeah, stop it. That'd be great. Stop it. That'd be great.
So,
Stop it, that'd be great.
That video, or the stopwatch...
I like the stopwatch. That's really helpful.
Hang on, how do I stop? Press that? Or the